we started and introduce our first speaker. That's for the service there. All right. Our first speaker, I don't have an intro, but I will give just a general. Marshall, since he's come, I've always appreciated his quiet demeanor. So when he did the extrovert speech, I was so proud of him that he took that as his first speech. I am honored to know him and glad to introduce him. Please help me welcome Mr. Marshall.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Do we have an evaluator for Marshall?
Yes, I'm sorry. Marshall's evaluator is Mary Ann. And okay, thank you.
Fellow Toastmasters, how many sports fans do we have here today? That's great. If you're like a lot of people, you like sports of all kinds. Sports are great to watch because of the athleticism, the scoring, and the action. In many of the poll rankings of the top 10 most popular sports in the U.S., what do you think takes the first prize?
Football.
Baseball.
Are you ready for some football? Usually followed by baseball or basketball, and then hockey. Depending on the poll rankings you look at, somewhere in the middle of the list is going to be, golf, soccer, or perhaps motorsports. And then it's followed up usually by tennis or volleyball, and then martial arts or pro wrestling. So I personally like soccer. And I would put it near the top of the list, somewhere between football and baseball. People around the world are passionate about soccer, but not as much in the U.S. And in the U.S., there's a ton of youth who play soccer, and all the way through high school and college level, and parents and local communities can be very passionate about the sport at those levels. But at the professional level, U.S. people just aren't as passionate about soccer as they are around the world. So with the World Cup tournament coming up next summer, hosted by Brazil, I started thinking, why is that? And I did a little bit of research. The three main reasons that come up over and over again why Americans just aren't into soccer all that much come down to this. They feel the sport is boring to watch. They don't like how games can end in a tie. And the U.S. teams don't attract the best players in the world. That doesn't make for a very good mix to win a persuasive case for the prospects of soccer in the United States. However, despite the concerns, and because I like soccer, I want to address each one and offer my perspective for why I'm still optimistic about soccer in the United States. And, start again. If you're not familiar, a regular season match lasts 90 minutes, and it has two 45-minute halves. Once the first half kickoffs start, first half whistle blows, the action doesn't stop for 45 minutes until the half. American spectators would describe the sport's action as watching players running up and down the field, passing the ball between each other using their feet, and occasionally taking a shot on goal. The scores can be very low, sometimes 1-0 or 2-1. Compared to football or basketball, with its start and stop action and high scoring, I can see how people might think soccer is equivalent to watching chess as a spectator sport. However, I would offer that the action in soccer is very similar to that of a popular sport of baseball. In both sports, there are longer periods of steady action, interspersed with very exciting bursts of scoring and intense moments. In baseball, the intensity is driven by the matchup between the pitcher and the catcher, or the batter. Each pitch, depending on its outcome, can have instant moment of joy, fear, amazement, or heartbreak. In soccer, the intensity is driven by the continuous flow of action. Because there are no breaks, the constant flow of the game creates a kind of cosmic athletic suit of energy that, like baseball, can instantly turn into sudden moments of intense outbursts of athleticism, goal-scoring jubilation, or devastatingly heartbreaking moments, like my speech right now. For this reason, I don't find soccer boring at all, because the anticipation buildup in the game can become so intense it can reach epic proportions. Another unique aspect of soccer that doesn't sit well with American audiences is how regular season matches can sometimes end in a tie, even a 0-0 tie. This is a hard concept to handle. In popular U.S. sports, you win or lose to signify the end of the game. There's no gray here. In soccer, it's a little bit different. The emphasis is on the team's performance over the course of the entire season using a point system of 3-1-0. So for a win, you get 3 points. For a tie, you get 1 point, and for a loss, you get 0 points. This makes teams rise and fall in the overall rankings very dynamic. So a team can advance quickly with just a few wins, or they can fall dramatically with just a few loses, or they can stay stagnant if they just tie. The point system creates intense matchups throughout the season, and when two teams are vying for position in the rankings. So these matchups can take on nail-biting significance when a team's advancement or fall from grace depends on the outcome, causing all kinds of pregame speculation, debates, and great fun. Ending a game in a tie isn't an easy concept, but tracking a team's dynamics, rise and fall in the rankings, and intense matchups can make ties, getting used to ties, very easy. The third aspect of the sport that doesn't excite Americans very much about watching soccer is the best players in the world don't play for U.S. teams. There are many different professional leagues across the globe, including the Major League Soccer, which is MLS in the U.S. The difference is MLS is competing for attention from the NFL, the NBA, NCAA, NASCAR, and others. In other countries, soccer is the dominant sport, and most of the resources and money goes into enticing the best players in the world. I'm still optimistic for U.S. soccer because our youth system has dramatically improved over the past decade, and we're starting to produce some seriously competitive talent. Proof of this is our growing talent base is the U.S. men's national soccer team. The U.S. men's national soccer team is currently ranked 22nd in the world, and that may not sound very good, but when you consider that there are 209 national teams recognized by FIFA, which is the governing body of world soccer, I think they're doing amazingly well. While U.S. teams don't attract the best talent in the world, our youth system is beginning to pave the way for future generations of U.S. soccer fans. The reasons I'm optimistic about the future of soccer in the U.S. is because of the growing number of people recognizing what the sport has to offer. Exciting bursts of athleticism and scoring, the dynamic rise and fall of teams in the standings, and intense matchups, and a vibrant youth system paving the way for the future generations of U.S. soccer fans. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.